All right, welcome into Los Angeles and a very exuberant episode of Reiter's Block here on CBS Sports HQ. Tiger Woods, it's unbelievable, right? Is a champion once again, winning the Masters yesterday. Watching on CBS. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk to Kevin Millar from MLB Network. We know it's NBA playoff time. We'll hit some numbers on that reality and talk about Steph Curry's tweet that went awry. All of that starts from LA right now.
Many doubted we'd ever see it, but here it is.
It went down in pain.
Down. I had, serious doubts after it transpired a couple of years ago. I could barely walk.
He doubled over in pain, and he is withdrawing.
Just the whole tournament has meant so much to me over the years. Winning in '97 and then come full circle 22 years later.
The return to glory.
I mean, we just watched it again. I have goosebumps, and yet, as real as it is, Tiger Woods, his 15th major, another green jacket, it's hard to believe it's actually happened. All the things that Tiger Woods battled, and that we watched him battle, and eventually I think most of us, I've always been a Tiger fan, rooted for him to overcome his personal struggles of his own making, not making excuses, the addiction issues, and obviously his back and the physical limitations to his greatness that broke in many ways over the years his spirit. We saw so many times Tiger, the echo of what he used to be, only the memory of the greatness that he once absolutely commanded at the PGA Championship, missing the cut, at the Open Championship, looking like a mere mortal, at the Masters of the U.S. Open, getting beaten up by courses he once dominated. You know, when I was younger, and I'm about 2 years younger than Tiger Woods, and by younger I mean in college, for me, Tiger was always going to be our Babe Ruth. This notion that in real time, as an adult, I was going to watch an athlete that didn't just dominate his sport, say the way Jordan did, but that was such a legend and changed it so significantly that I always thought my kids, my grandkids, and if I was lucky enough to be around my great-grandkids, were going to ask me about Tiger Woods. And the day that his personal life and the rest of his life went awry, so did, at least for me and a lot of us fans, of not just golf but Tiger, the idea that that greatness was ever going to come back. Never thought I'd see it, even though here on this show and on the radio, I said I thought it could happen. I wanted it to happen. He was 12-1 entering the tournament. It felt like good odds, but we've seen in the last few years, Tiger broken and beaten so many times, unable to beat himself. And so that moment, this reality we're going to watch here, we'll watch it again, that Tiger is back, pretty special and magical thing.
Many doubted we'd ever see it, but here it is. The return to glory.
The relief, the emotion. You know, Tiger Woods was more than immortal for the years that he dominated. It's one of the things we love about sports, right? These athletes that are bigger and better and remarkably great compared to us mere everyday people. And yet Tiger became not just average, he became like all of us, somebody whose struggles were real and were on public display. And the fact that he won yesterday, the way that he did, having to be steely-eyed, no 3-stroke or 4-stroke lead on the turn, having to battle a multitude of people on that leaderboard, and a who's who, by the way, of golfers in 2019, it adds to the mystique and the aura and the emotion of what happened. And look, Brooks Koepka is an incredible golfer, especially in majors. He brings that level of that game. But we've heard so often that if Tiger ever got back in contention, people weren't going to miss the moment. They weren't going to feel the pressure of Tiger. It wasn't true. You saw Koepka so many times step away from the tee box as people were roaring for Tiger behind him when Tiger would make a putt or even hit the ball off the tee with driver straight down the middle of the fairway, and it got to him. And I feel bad because it makes me maybe a bad sports fan, but right here when Koepka had that opportunity for that putt to put a little more pressure on Tiger, and he missed that putt. I cannot remember the last time, as a fan, I didn't have any money on this thing, I jumped up and was screaming and cheering that a guy missed a putt. And then, as you know, Tiger just needed, after he kind of shanked his approach shot, got up on the green a 2-putt to be Masters champion again. Here it is. He lags the first putt, almost hold it. And that is the shortest putt. That was the most nerve-wracking putt that I can remember. Tiger Woods battles away Koepka, battles away Fowler, battles away everybody as the world watched in the weight of not just one green jacket or one major, which is significant, but you could feel the 11 years that have passed. Remember, the last time Tiger won a major, I have 2 kids, 9 and 6. They weren't born. I was a different person. You were a different person. Obama and Trump had yet to be elected president. Uber hadn't launched yet, let alone Lyft. It was a different universe, and the weight of all of that time and all of that pressure and all of those dreams and all of those hopes, that's what went away. That's what was brought full circle when Tiger nailed that putt. And you have to have a heart of iron not to have felt something when later, as a champion now, Tiger Woods in the cabin, surrounded by one of the most remarkable moments in golf. If you ever win that opportunity to have a green jacket put on your shoulders, when it's placed on again was pretty cool.
Now we'd be honored if you would place the green jacket on Tiger for the 5th time.
Yeah, buddy.
Congratulations, Tiger.
Thank you,
So
Mr.
happy
Chairman.
for
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It fits.
It fits every single one of us that watch sports because we love the competition. Because sometimes, like that picture of God, reaching down to touch the finger of some human being, it feels like one of those moments that was transcendent. I'm a Cubs fan. You've got your own teams. But outside of the Cubs winning the World Series for me, right, which is a personal thing, it's the most remarkable, overwhelming, emotional moment in sports that I've seen in my lifetime. And in this job, I've been lucky enough to go to Super Bowls, to see comebacks, to be at Olympics, to see incredible things. I'm a fan of sports, like you're a fan of sports. There was something different about this one, about the return of Tiger Woods, about all of his humiliation. And I made my share of Perkins jokes too. And to see Tiger Woods overcome all of that and have that moment. And then I was watching with my kids to watch Tiger Woods, having let that emotion out, having hit that putt, having realized the return of the person that defined him for so long, the return of the greatest golfer, at least for the moment, on the face of the earth, and for me, the greatest golfer of all time, to walk off of 18 at Augusta National and find his son and his daughter and his mom. This is incredible stuff. One of the best things about sports is when the impossible becomes possible. I never thought I would see what we saw yesterday. Tiger Woods is a champion of a major once again. And I believe this absolutely and earnestly. And Vegas got crushed yesterday. Vegas, you might want to adjust the odds. Once Tiger won one, he's going to win 3 or 4 more. He will pass Jack. He's going to get there. The person for the last 10, 11 years that beat Tiger Woods, and Brooks Koepka showed us by missing that putt, it was Tiger Woods. It was those demons in that past, and it is over. Babe Ruth is back. Our version of it, it's Tiger Woods, and it's going to be an amazing thing to watch what's going to happen going forward. I got goosebumps just thinking about what Tiger did yesterday. What an incredible, incredible weekend for golf and for sports fans everywhere. We got to talk some baseball. We got to hit some other sports. Yay, Tiger Woods. Kevin Millar, longtime major leaguer, the host of Intentional Talk with Chris Rose. Kevin's a really good dude. He's going to join me on the show, Writer's Block from LA, in just a minute, and we'll talk a little bit of what's going on in the majors when we come back. All right, welcome back into Los Angeles. Woo! Tiger, right? Still just taking it in. We're going to talk some baseball now. My guy, Kevin Millar, longtime major leaguer. Check him out. MLB Network joins me right now on the program from, New York. All right, one of my favorite dudes. Remember, you can watch Kevin and Chris Rose co-host Intentional Talk. And tomorrow, Kevin's going to be out at Yankee Stadium ahead of the Red Sox at Yankees game on MLB Network. Kevin Millar, brother, thanks for making time.
Hey, thanks for having me, brother. It's been a while.
It has been. All right, so much to get to. Let's start with the Rays. Let's give the Rays some love. Not only are they hot out of the gates this year, you go back to August of last season, one of the hottest teams in baseball. If you include that stretch of last season, Kevin, that's a pretty big sample size. Are you buying the idea that the Rays could be legit?
Yeah, they've been legit for a long time and haven't gotten credit for it. Even when Joe Madden days, when they had the young David Price and James Shields and all those guys, they won 90 games a year, but it's Red Sox, Yankees that dominate that division and conversation. Now you look up, they're not fake good. I mean, Kevin Cash has done such a great job with getting these guys to kind of believe they have this system. They started this bullpen by committee, starter, bullpen guy, or whatever you want to call it. It's worked. They've given up 40 runs, I think, through the first whatever games they played. And you know what? You look at this team, they're not fake good. They're in a tough division. They're going to play the Yankees and Red Sox a lot, but they're going to compete. Are they going to win this division will be the question. Everybody wants to know, are the Rays for real? They're for real for the postseason. They're for real for a playoff spot. I don't know if they're for real yet to win the East. They'd have to prove that to me this year, but right now the way the Red Sox and Yankees are playing, maybe they are for real.
All right, Kevin, so it's early. Red Sox off to a slow start, playing a little bit better. Yankees have been seriously felled by injuries so far. MLB Network's got Red Sox at Yankees tomorrow. Do either of these teams' fan bases, Red Sox, Yankees, have anything to actually worry about at this stage of the season?
No, I think, obviously, the Red Sox start last year, they dominated early on. Then they went on to win the World Series in 2018. This year, I'll speak on them. You know, the Chris Sale thing, it makes you scratch your head. He's even scratching his head. He said it personally. He's never felt like this. He's never had this happen to me. He's never pitched like this. So that'll make you scratch your head. The bullpen might make you scratch your head because they don't have a bona fide closer. So those are the two things. I'm not worried about Nathan Eovaldi. I'm not worried about David Price or Rick Porcello or Erod. That's fine. Offensively, as it gets hotter there, they're going to be banging balls off the Green Monster, Xander and Mookie and J.D. Martinez. I'm not worried about that. I am concerned a little bit about Chris Sale and concerned about the closer role. The Yankee side, this bullpen's been, you know, the talk of the town since they signed everybody, and it hasn't been quite there yet. Their starting staff now does concern me a little bit. Severino, the depth that he gave you, 7+ innings, you know, every time he went out there, that's not there. His injury concerns me because now you got Tanaka and the CC and guys that, you know, they're looking to go 5+ now at this point in their career. So that'll be interesting to watch. I think once they get healthy offensively, they're a scary team. So I'm not concerned there. This is the first 2 weeks of the season. That's always fun to talk about.
Kevin, you played obviously for a long time. As a player, how long has to go by in the season that you start to actually believe in your team if things are going well, or you start to get worried if things aren't? How big of a sample size do players actually take seriously when they say, okay, this might be who we are?
Yeah, I would say a half. It's not 6 weeks. I mean, you'll hear people say 6 weeks. That's still young in the season. 162 games is a lot of baseball, right? And especially you're coming off 30 in spring training. So you're looking at 200 games. People ask how long does it take for an offensive player to kind of be ready? 30 to 40 at bats, and then you're kind of ready. But sometimes you get up to a hot start, and sometimes you get up to a slow start. But I'd say a half because I'm only speaking with experience on a team's aspect, is that in 04, we were kind of spinning our wheels. You know, we were like a 500 ball club, and it was kind of like whatever. All of a sudden, Theo makes a trade here, and Orlando Cabrera comes jogging into our locker room and trades Nomar Garcia-Parra, who was like trading, you know, Ted Williams at that time. And so you look up, and we had a nice second half. You start believing in each other, and all of a sudden, boom, we were world champions. We made it as a wild card, and then, you know, doing our thing. But I don't think any team's going to sit here and go, this is who we are after April if they're struggling. Or after May. But I think sometime in June and July, then you're starting, okay, we need to either make an adjustment, a change, or some teams might be trading.
All right, so it's early. If you're the Mariners organization, are you trying to keep the optimism in check, or do you think what we've seen from them early on, I think second best run differential in baseball right now, does that indicate maybe Seattle is going to be a competitor this year?
No, I think it's a great story early on. I think offensively they can hit. I don't think anybody's going to maintain this offensive scene because if that's the case, there's going to be guys on pace to drive in 200 RBIs and you know, hit 85 home runs. So at some point that'll come down to normal, and that's why they called an average, and that's not talking bad about the Mariners. I love these kind of stories in baseball, teams that kind of like, wow, maybe they're not as bad as people thought they were going to be. Their bullpen's a scary scene. They can't close baseball games out there. So long term, that's where it'll sting them. Long term, that's where it'll sting them. You can kind of mask it early on when you out-hit the opponent by a lot and you hit home runs in 18 straight games. But long-term, the bullpen will be, magnified, and I think that's where, if they win 80-some-odd games, that's going to be a great season. They didn't go in this year trying to plan to win the World Series. Good things can happen, and players going to have good years, but I think the Mariners, they're not planning on making the postseason.
Kevin, last year we saw Atlanta be pretty interesting. For a lot of people, surprised some folks. A lot of young guys really got in their groove early on. Do you see a team around Major League Baseball, whether it's the Padres or another organization, that's going to make a big leap this year, in large part because of some young guys in that farm system as it makes its way to the majors?
You just named them. The San Diego Padres are that team. I look at this club. First of all, that division's not as good as it's been. Arizona's not going to be as good as they are or they have been. The Rockies are obviously struggling right now. They'll turn it around, but they're not quite where they want to be. The Giants aren't going to be where they're at. And the Dodgers, the Dodgers are going to be solid, but there are some concerns there with Clayton Kershaw making his first start tonight. Their starting staff, you never know. Bullpen on that side, Kenley Jansen hasn't had the velocity. Long term, does that, we'll see what happens there. But I look at the Padres, they have so many young guys that you just don't know. We know Tatis Jr., we know Manny Machado, we know Hosmer and the guys, but they have some nice young pitchers. They have some nice, a nice nucleus of some talent. So now it takes a couple guys having career years, like we saw the Braves do with Acuna Jr. and obviously Albies, and they came up and you're like, wow, this is kind of a good club. Now you're throwing a hard thrower out of the bullpen that no one knows about. Next thing you know, they can be a team that might make the postseason.
All right, Kevin, I'm a Cubs fan, so help me here. Shoot straight with me. Should I temper my expectations as a Cubs fan, or is everything going to be fine in Chicago for that organization this year?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's the one head scratcher right now. Where are the Cubs at? I mean, Joe Madden doesn't have a contract, so we've been talking about that, okay? Theo Epstein, is he getting irritated because there's no edge in that clubhouse? Are they good or are they not good? This isn't 2016 anymore, I said the other day on the show. So I don't know where the Cubs are at, to be honest with you. I love the Cubs. The relationships that I have with the Cubs, with Jed and Theo and John Lester, it's a boys club type scene, but I look around there, I don't know if they're better than the Milwaukee Brewers, and I don't know if they're better than the St. Louis Cardinals. So where are the Cubs at? Pirates are a very sneaky, underrated team, that starting staff. So, the Yu Darvish situation, he's got to be better. He's got to be better. He's got to be healthy. He's got to pitch better for them to be good. Cole Hamels, awesome. He threw a great game there tonight. John Lester's injuries, no problem. He had a double in the gap, hurt his little hamstring, but he'll be back, so it's not arm issues. But Yu Darvish concerns me, and their bullpen concerns me. Morrow's, been on the DL, and, who closes games for them? Their offense has to bang the baseball, and they've been doing a good job of swinging the bats, but they're going to have to bang the baseball all year.
All right, Kevin, last question for you. Just best guess, maybe a fit you see as we get a sense of teams. Where do you think Dallas Keuchel is going to end up whenever he finds a home for this season?
It's interesting because, you got Dallas Keuchel and you got Craig Kimbrell out there, and it's like the longer that he stays out, there's teams that are going to really need him, right? I thought Dallas would end up with the Braves this offseason because they need that bona fide kind of like veteran starter. And I think he's a great fit for 5 or 6 teams. Obviously, financially, that's what this gap's about. As soon as Patrick Corbin got that $140 million deal, I think that Dallas might have been asking for that deal. And I don't know. I'm not an agent. I'm just saying if the money's there, I think he'd have been signed. So who knows what the asking price comes down to. And then you look at a guy like Craig Kimbrell. I mean, there's a lot of teams. The Knebel injury happens in Milwaukee. They'd be a perfect situation for there. The Dodgers can use a Kimbrell. It'll be real interesting where those guys end up. I do think that they're going to play this year, yes. And I do think that, some teams are going to be happy having both of them. But right now, it's kind of like that line's drawn, and they're not going to play unless that money's right.
We'll be watching Kevin, you, and Chris on Intentional Talk. We're checking you out. Red Sox at Yankees. We're on MLB Network. Always good talking to Kevin Millar. Thanks for making time.
Billy, thanks a lot, bro. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Kevin Millar, my favorite analyst in the business, my favorite broadcasters in the business, one of the funniest guys that I've ever met. Man, I'm worried about my Cubs, too. The uncertainty is gnawing at me. All right, let's do this. Let's transition. We hit some Tiger. We talk some baseball. NBA playoffs are underway. We're going to go inside the numbers with a little bit of a twist toward the gambling end of it when we come back to the program. Writer's Block in a minute here on CBS Sports HQ. All right, welcome back into the show. We got to hit some NBA playoffs. And if you're like me, you might want to put a little money down. So we're going to go inside the numbers on the NBA playoffs from Vegas' perspective. And we start with the number 8. After being upset by the Nets in Game 1, the Sixers still come out in Game 2 as an 8-point favorite. Now, 53% of the current bets at Westgate have come in on the Nets. It's pretty close. You might want to fade them. How about 18.5? 18.5 is next up. In Brooklyn's Game 1 win, the Nets led by as many as 17 points. For tonight's game, Vegas has the line set at 18.5 points for the largest lead by either team. So if you think the Sixers will have a big bounce back, or conversely, Embiid's knee injury might be more serious than it's been made out to be, this is a number you can jump on. I kind of like that number one way or the other, to be honest. How about 24.5 on Inside the Numbers? In Game 1, as he's done all season long, D'Angelo Russell led the way for Brooklyn. He had 26 points. Tonight's Westgate has Russell's point total set at 24.5. I'm actually going to get on this, and I'm going to take the over. How about 31.5? In Game 1, Ben Simmons was a big disappointment. Finished with just 9 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists, reflecting last year's postseason lull and letdowns. Vegas does expect some level of bounce back from Simmons in Game 2. Westgate has his line for combined points, rebounds, and assists at 31.5. I think I'm going to fade Simmons. I love him as a player, but something about his postseason play and the lack of a jump shot. Give me the under on the 31.5. How about 13.5? Out west, where I'm sitting, Vegas is expecting much of the same from the Dubs in Game 2 on the West Coast. Golden State is a 13.5-point favor of the Clippers in Game 2 after beating them 121-104 in Game 1. We'll get to my pick here in a minute on that game. And finally, 25.5 in Game 1. Kevin Durant finished with 23 points. He was also ejected after getting into it with Patrick Beverley in the fourth quarter. Tonight, Vegas expects more of the same with this point total set at 25.5. KD does have 2 technicals already in the playoffs. 7 gets you a 1-game suspension, so it needs to be careful going forward. All right, so little groundwork. If you want to put a little money down, I like to most nights. It's time for Bill's big bet of the day. All right, so I'm 3-0, but the other ones felt like locks. This one is a little edgy. I don't like any of the lines that are out there, but I'm not sitting out the NBA playoffs. I know Patrick Beverley does this, and it usually works out, but you don't want to get in Kevin Durant's head. The guy's a killer when he's motivated, and the Warriors have this chip on their shoulder thing, even though they've won every NBA championship going back every year but won the last 4. I get it. 13.5 is a big number. I'm taking the Warriors. I think they absolutely cover. And before we sign off, speaking of the Warriors, we've got a Steph Curry meets Tiger Woods version of Let's Get Social. All right, so this is right? So you can't win on social media. Steph Curry, after watching Tiger like we all did, do something mesmerizing and amazing, sent out a pretty nice tweet. Greatest comeback story in sports. Congrats, Tiger Woods. Let me hold one of those 5 jackets one time. How could anyone take this moment and twist it into something trollish? Well, they can, because it's the internet's. We'll give you 3 of the response. Oh, Steph. Here's the first one. Way to go, Matt McAllister. Teams with as you can see there, 3-1 lead have never lost in the NBA Finals. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I was at that Finals. It was an amazing collapse. Just remember, LeBron James pretty good at basketball. Draymond Green missed a critical game at home for kicking somebody where he shouldn't have. They weren't done. The next one comes really compliments of Kyrie Irving. I know he's in Boston now. That is a giant ring, just shoving it in Steph Curry's face. I mean, we can't just enjoy the moment, America. We can't just enjoy the Tiger got it done. I guess not, because we're contributing because we think it's funny. We're doing it here on Writer's Block. One more, last one. Mike, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing your name. Ferenzi, just a stone-cold basketball closer. LeBron James, the reminder that he did not flinch in that moment. Steph, I'm sorry, man. You're a nice dude. You're great for the game. You're one of the greats of all time. You're just trying to share the moment with Tiger Woods. Just slightly, I've been there, slightly poor choice of words. Thank you for hanging out here on the show. Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, Tiger Woods. I want to say it 3 times. It is absolutely incredible. that he got it done. What an amazing Masters. We're going to get you caught up. Everything trending going on right now in the world of sports. CBS Sports HQ back from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 30 minutes. We'll go to Stamford, Connecticut for Sportsline. I'm Bill Reiter. This is Reiter's Block. We'll see you tomorrow at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific. Thanks for hanging out.